think yesterday I was FaceTiming someone and they were braiding their hair and they were like, what do you think, Rachel? Should I do 2 rows or 3 rows? I'm like, I don't know how to do 1 row. So I don't know. You need to ask the stylist. So yeah, things with hair, I don't know.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Black Student Success Podcast, where we bring you insight and guidance from successful Black professionals and students. My name is Selvin, and as always, we appreciate the support. So today we have Rachel Aideyan, who is a senior at the Sophie Davis School of Biomedical Education at CCNY. So she's going to talk about her experience there, as she's making her way to graduation, the things that she's learned along the way. And we'll also briefly talk about the podcast that she has that's also related to, what it's like being in school in a number of various topics. So Rachel, thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to start the show how we always do by asking, who is Rachel Aideyan?
Well, with this question, what's really interesting is that I had this little assignment where we had to take like a strength assessment quiz for one of my more chill classes. And it's kind of a little quiz online where you test to see what your core values are. And it got a lot deeper than I expected. But with the results, I think it said that I really value kindness and love and honesty and stuff like that. And when I thought about it more, it like makes a lot of sense because I'm a person that is all about empathy. I really try to make sure everybody else is good and everyone around me is feeling comfortable. And I think that relates a lot to the passions that I have, like studying medicine. You got to put other people's lives before you and really understand different perspectives and where other people are coming from. And with my podcast, like College for the Culture, sharing different resources to help other people, especially Black and Brown people, is really important to think about what do people want? What do they need at the moment? So yeah, I do consider myself someone who's pretty kind and like empathetic. But I do have my own needs too, like I like to eat, I like to sleep, I like to hang out with friends, I like R&B music, I like my own space. I'm more of the introverted side, believe it or not, because some people question that because you have your own podcast. I'm like, notice that it's my podcast and there's no other host around me. But yeah, so yeah, I really value kindness and I like expressing that with people. I love love. I love honesty. Authenticity is important to me. Everything that I do and every person I interact with, I try to be genuine about it. I'm not really about fake stuff, fake interactions and things like that. So yeah, I think those things kind of sum up who I am and why I do the things that I do.
Perfect. Thanks for that intro. You covered all bases there, so we appreciate that. So let's actually start with checking to see how that admissions experience went for you. What was it like when you were in the process of looking for schools, deciding that you wanted to get into medicine? What was that whole process like? And you can even start from either your senior year in college, senior year in high school, or any time before then when you started kind of thinking about these things.
Okay, so I knew I wanted to study medicine for a very long time. So there was never really a point where I questioned that. I might have like interacted with other careers here and there. One time I wanted to be a chef. One time I wanted to be a gardener. I don't know why I wanted that. I don't like dirt. I don't know why I wanted to be a gardener, but I wanted to be different things. But then when I was like 8, I was like, okay, I'm interested in medicine. I feel like it's really cool how you take care of people, but not only like physically, but also emotionally and mentally support them. But when it came to like senior year and like looking for schools that fit those needs, it was a little bit chaotic. I'm not going to lie. I am the oldest in my family. My parents are from Nigeria, so they're from a different country. So they didn't really know. They just knew that you need to be in a good college. That's it. And everything else is kind of put on me. I was pretty indecisive. So I applied to like 25 colleges. And I was like looking at researching a different college all the time. I'm always putting one in my list and taking it out. I was in my college counselor's office, like it was my house. I was there a lot. I was always like, hey, I see you have your lunch break. Can I join you? You know, that a few questions. I was always like interacting with my college counselor a lot because I didn't know what was going on. I was just I had a lot of questions that I really wanted to make it right. So and with the financial aid stuff, all my parents did was just like, here's my tax returns. You figure out the rest. I don't know this computer stuff. I was like, great. I don't know what a W-2 is, but we'll figure it out.
All right.
So it was a lot, I would say, but I'm thankful for the support that I did have. I'm thankful for the resources I did have, the fact that I had a counselor who was super attentive to me and things like that. But yeah, it was definitely a long road. And with the school I'm in now, the only reason I knew about it, it's interesting because like a lot of people know about Sophie Davis from like their freshman year, and they're like, oh, okay, I want to do this, but I did not know about it until the first few months of my senior year. My mom talked to her coworker, and she was like, oh, my son, he goes to Sophie Davis, and it's like great for doctors and stuff. And then my mom was like, see, you want to be a doctor, apply to this program. It's a straight 7 years, blah, blah, blah. And we had a lot of fights with that because I was like, I want a liberal arts experience. I just want to enjoy myself. And she was like, don't you want to be a doctor? It was a lot of back and forth. But then I went and I visited the school and I was like, oh, this is nice. I like it. So I don't like admitting that my mom was right, but she was kind of right on that one because I'm happy where I'm at now. So it was a lot of confusion and a lot of going back and forth, a lot of changing my mind, but it did end up to me being in the right place right now. So, yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things that stood out is just kind of what that process looked like for you. Now, it sounded like even with you not knowing a lot of those things as far as how college goes and what do you look for and things like that, you seem very active with just trying to get that information. You know, if you were hunting down your college counselor or whatever the case is, and you're sitting at lunch, you slip them an application like, hey, I got a question about this. So being that persistent when it comes to just at least trying to find the information was probably the biggest highlight that I got from that. And even with all that chaos and landing at Sophie Davis, you feel like that decision was the best? Was all that chaos worth it? At the end, once you kind of gotten through?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like looking back on it now, if I had the same information now and I went back in time, I would have just picked the same school again and went through the same way I did. For sure. Because the people I've met there, all the things that I've learned, not just with medicine, but outside of medicine too, like it's really valuable. So yeah, I would have definitely made the same decision.
Awesome. So yeah, well, thank you for sharing that, and I'm glad that all of the persistence and being consistent with trying to get everything together, eventually paid off, and you're continuing on your path within medicine. So that's awesome. Now let's actually talk about the experience now as a college student. What has that been like on the academic side, on the social side, and especially with you being on that medical track and knowing that in advance and knowing the amount of time that you're going to have to be in school, how does that shape your academic and your social experience?
Yeah, so I guess a little background with what Sophie Davis is like BSMD program. So I graduate in 3 years instead of the typical 4 years, and then I go straight to medical school without the interviews or the MCAT or things like that because they have a medical school in the same campus as the undergraduate college. And with that means it's very fast and rigorous academically. Like I finished organic chemistry in 1 semester instead of 2. Like it's very fast paced. So it is pretty difficult. Even my first class was biology and it was senior level biology. It wasn't like Bio 101. I was like, whoa, we're not going to talk about mitochondria anymore. We're just going to go straight to it. Okay. So It is pretty challenging at times because it's like you really have to keep track of what you're doing. You have to know how to manage your time at such an early stage. And I'm still, working on it because every semester is a bunch of different classes again. And so you have to adapt to that. But somehow I'm making it through. So I'm thankful about that. So I will say it is pretty rigorous, but it is doable. I look back and I'm like, oh, it wasn't as scary as I thought. Even though like in the middle of it, it was like a lot of haze, a lot of confusion. And but socially, I would say I think it is pretty good because it is a small program. I think everyone in total is almost 500. Each class has 70 to 80 students. And so you really get to, make close bonds with people. You're not always in a lecture of like 500, 1,000 people, which is nice. So I'm thankful that I was able to make those connections, and I'm able to, if I need something, if I need tutoring, if I need advice, I'm able to do that right away instead of jumping through a lot of hoops. So socially, I have been able to meet people that I see myself being friends with for the rest of my life. And because it's such a unique experience, like who graduates in 3 years? Who does? No, not a lot of people. So we have a lot to relate on. And when someone is getting down or feeling stressed about something, there's always someone there who understands you and is willing to like put a shoulder there for you. And when interacting with people that are older, that are already in the medical school portion of it, like they're very open to giving resources to you. I know that pre-med could be scary for people, the outside in, because they see it as super competitive. We're all chasing to be in medical school. So I'm going to push this person. I'm going to step on this person's toes. But in my school, it's not really like that. As long as you do well, you're going to make it to where you want to be. So there's no point in like competing with anyone. So I appreciate when there's people, willing to offer their notes or offer how they studied for this or what resources help them understand this disease or this topic. So that has been really comforting for me and been a big part of why I'm still able to move forward in the program for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like some of those benefits that you get from being at a small school where you're able to make better connections, especially for the more introverted people, making more of those one-on-one connections and smaller groups, and then academically being able to get more of that attention because of the smaller size, the lower ratio between the teachers and the students and things like that. And it's great that you're in that specific program. And I can only imagine, especially with some students may not being aware of this type of program, that it might, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it might take some of the pressure out of searching for a med school because it's this special type of bridge program that you go all the way through.
Yeah, definitely. If you really know you want to do medicine 1000% and you're not into standardized tests like me, like SAT, I hated that. ACT, I hated it. I knew I didn't want to take a standardized test ever again. Then having programs like this that are more straightforward is really good. So that's what I would say. If you're like not sure about it at 18 years old, that's okay, because who knows what they want to do at 18 years old? Not a lot of people. But if you do know for sure, I recommend Sophie Davis or a program similar. And I would also like to add that I am in CCNY, City College of New York. So I'm able to take different types of classes other than like science or medicine. So I was able to take a Black Studies minor, which I'm really happy that I did, and interact with people not in my program as well. So it's like having the best of both worlds in a way. Like I'm focused on what I want in my career, but I'm able to explore different interests because I'm not just, STEM. Like I like doing a lot of different things, which is, I guess, why I have a podcast. But so that's what kind of sold it for me, being able to explore different interests and do different things that I want to do. But to your original question, yeah, it's really nice that they kind of close that gap in like interviews, applications, flying here, doing that, and just, okay, as long as you do well and, you do things in your free time, you're good to go for medical school.
Nice, nice, nice flexibility with being in a school system like the city colleges in New York. So thanks for also highlighting that. Now, when it comes to actually being a Black student on campus or within the school, what's that experience like? Where do you find support? Are there different things like you said when you could take a Black studies class that's available either on or within the campus system that you're able to access? And then did that also inspire the podcast to be formed? So what's that whole experience like of being a Black student where you're at?
Well, being a Black student, I think socially is pretty good. Like, my school is predominantly people of color. Like, white people are the minority, which is kind of shocking. Usually you just see that in HBCUs. But so I felt like I was able to meet different types of Black people from different cultures, like Haitian, Jamaican, Nigerian, which I am. Like, all my roommates, I have two roommates, they're all Nigerian, which is pretty cool. So it's like really nice to come back to the dorm, come back to the apartment, and just be with people that relate to you. We're all making jollof rice together or something. So I never really felt like isolated or I didn't belong because I could find someone that looks like me right next to me or like across the hall or something. And if they're not exactly from Nigeria or from Africa, it's nice to like see somebody from a different culture. And even if they're not Black too, like there's some Latina people, there's some like people that are from different races and stuff. So it's really cool that I am not in a predominantly white space because that's where I was in high school. And sometimes it does make you feel some way about yourself, and the different microaggressions that I encountered was not fun. So I'm happy I was able to avoid that. But I would say the challenging thing is like dealing with like imposterism or like imposter syndrome, kind of, which is when when you feel like you don't really belong, like it was a mistake that I was here. I think because Sophie Davis, the program is very rigorous and everyone is so smart and brilliant in their own way that sometimes when like you don't do well on the test or like you didn't do well on this clinical thing, it's kind of like, dang, like, why am I even here then? Like, was it a mistake, And I feel like, especially most of the professors are white as well, which kind of does make the dynamic a bit interesting. But I do think how I get support with that is like talking to like both advisors and friends. My academic advisor, she's a Black woman. I really do love and appreciate her a lot. Every semester we meet and she always reminds me how far I've come because I'm always just like, I don't know how I'm going to do this biochemistry. I don't know how I'm going to do this. It's looking really difficult right now. And she's just like, remember when freshman year you said the same thing and sophomore year you said the same thing and how you made it through? You can make it through this time. And I'm like, oh, you're right. And she's also pretty proactive and like helping me make a plan or a study schedule, and always being available, and not being judgmental. Because I know freshman year, I made 10 different study schedules because I didn't follow through with other them and I had to keep tweaking it. So she was just always there to be proactive in how I could approach things so I could become a better student. And with friends, similar to what I said before, they're just always there for you, not only academically, but like when you're just going through something. And I think there's many times where I have second guessed myself and been like, is this right for me? Because this biochemistry, I'm not getting it. And then there's always somebody that's like, girl, it is for you. You got it. Okay. We're all going through it. I think what makes it great is like, nobody pretends like they have it all figured out. Everybody is struggling in one way or another. And when you interact with someone and you have a real conversation with them and they tell you like, I don't understand what's going on either. So you don't have to be upset, like we could figure it out together. It makes me feel like, okay, I'm not the only one behind. I'm not the only one that doesn't understand this. So that kind of calms me down in a way. So yeah, that's what I would say about the Black student question.
Nice. There's a lot of support that's all around. And I think one of the things you kind of explain is that with you not feeling the pressures of, not having, too many people to relate to around you, and the social aspect that allows you to focus more on the academics. And even if you were dealing with that imposter syndrome, you weren't also dealing with microaggressions, or you weren't dealing with, having a hard time trying to find a good group of friends to hang out with. I think it's really pretty awesome that you have, all of your roommates are Nigerian, and that's especially in a culture related aspect, it's nice to have that, within your circle of people, or just the people who are around you, not only just, as, roommates, but also as fellow students who are, kind of in that same track as well. So it's a nice experience that you have. And like you said, without being at an HBCU where you will typically find a lot of those things.
Yeah,
definitely. Absolutely. Awesome. So now, where do you find inspiration when it comes to getting through this rigorous program, putting your podcast together and things like that? Where do you find the inspiration, once those, those difficult times come around?
I think two things, places where I find inspiration is like my community and my loved ones. Like my community in the sense of like people similar to me, and maybe in race or like gender or different types of statuses, different identity groups and things like that, especially with the podcast, because my aim for it is kind of making sure Black and Brown people have resources to make it through the college process and college life in general. I really try to be observant about, okay, in this season right now, it's September. What do the people need right now? What do the people want? And it's like, okay, they need college admissions things. They need to understand how to apply to different things. And that's like through listening and interacting with different people, not just people that are the same age as me, that people are a little younger, and asking around. Like my sister's a senior in high school, and I would talk to her a lot about what she's going through. And then I'll talk to her friends, and then I'll talk to my friends that are a bit younger. And that's how I kind of, okay, this is forming an episode right now. I think I could talk about this. I could think I'll talk about that. And my loved ones too, inspire me a lot. I don't know, because I'm always kind of talking to my family a lot. And sometimes they just bring up something that I'm like, whoa, that's actually a pretty good idea that they didn't realize was anything. It was like common conversation, but then it turns out to be like, okay, I struck gold right now because we're watching this show and they said this one comment, and now I'm thinking, okay, I could make this and I could do this. And in terms of like career-wise and like staying motivated, and what inspires me is definitely the adults in my life, like my mom, who's like a pretty strong individual. She's a nurse as well, and who's pretty motivated. That kind of inspires me to like, okay, I could do that. If she's out here doing a million things at once and is still able to say I love you and be with me, then I could do that for myself, So different role models like that inspire me to like move forward with my education and with what I want to do. It doesn't make me second guess that I'm doing a podcast and I'm mentoring people and I'm studying at the same time, because sometimes I do look like a crazy person because I'm like doing 5 different things. I'm in 3 clubs, I'm doing that. But then like when I see people older than me that already are married, they already have kids, and then they want to have their own business, and then they want to have this career and they still have time to be a caring person. I'm just like, okay, if they're like 50 something, 60 something, and I'm just 20 years old, I think I could do it, So
yeah, you don't get too many people who think about, other people's lives and how many things they have going on, and they're still able to like, conquer all these multiple things and then take it back to them and like, you know what, if they can, juggle 2 kids in hand and like mow the lawn and like do all these other things at once, then I can do this. So it's really good that you actually look to those people, not only just to see what they, all the multiple things that they're doing, but these are like people who are close to you. And so not only that, but you can also go to them for advice for different things. And, like you said, the imposter syndrome goes out the window at that point because you are getting all of the support from those people. So, so thank you for sharing that as well. Well, one of the questions that we always ask all of our guests is, how do you define success? What is your specific definition of success, that you abide by and that you try to follow?
I kind of describe it by a particular feeling. Like, that feeling when you work on something really, really hard and you put it out there, and then it's a random Tuesday and someone DMs you like, wow, I really found this really beneficial and really helpful for me. And now I'm able to do this. So thank you for doing that or saying that or sharing that. That is that feeling I get after hearing that is like the success for me. Like, I really love when people come back to me and tell me that like something I said or something I've done or even something a resource I shared with them has helped them, whether it's through school, through their career, or through their mental health, or just with understanding themselves more. Like, it's just indescribable, that feeling. I'm just like, wow, like I feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose in life. I feel like I'm not just sitting here on a floating rock just doing whatever. Like, I feel like, wow, I'm really contributing to something. And the way that when someone does that, I know that they probably told 2 people and then they're telling 4 people, and it's just paying it forward to the point where like more people understand this. So I don't even have to repeat it again because it's like common knowledge. And it could apply to many different things. Like, sometimes I just share like a random phone number or a random like school, like, oh, I think you might like this program or this opportunity. And it might lead to someone telling 2 different people, 3 different people. And it makes me feel good that something I've said or something I've done or something I've said, like shared on the podcast or something, has really helped someone not only move forward in life, but understand what they want to do and understand who they are as a person. So that's, to me, is how I find success.
There you go. Yeah, paying it forward. That is always something that makes you feel good, knowing that something is actually helping, somebody that, doesn't require money or whatever. It's just kind of coming from your own experience and, the things that you've learned along your own journey. So that's what's up. Now, finally, before we do wrap up, Rachel, we all have this one thing, that if people found out, it could get our Black card revoked. So what is that thing for you?
Uh, Unfortunately, I could say a few things, but you said one thing. So before I cancel myself, I'm just gonna say one thing and say I don't really know how to do anything with my hair. Really, I don't know how to cornrow. I don't know how to braid. I don't know how to do anything but a common little twist and how to apply the products and pick a hairstyle. Like, oh, I like patch and twist. Do that for me. I don't know how to do anything. I'm a really lazy, natural hair person, and people would ask me, can you help me with my cornrow, bro? I'm just trying to finish it up. I'm like, you are asking the wrong person right now. I don't know what to do. You need to look at a YouTube video. It is 21st century. I don't know. I think yesterday I was FaceTiming someone and they were braiding their hair and they were like, what do you think, Rachel? Should I do 2 rows or 3 rows? I'm like, I don't know how to do 1 row. So I don't know. You need to ask the stylist. So yeah, things with hair, I don't know. I don't know how to cornrow, braid, or anything. So if anyone out there wants to hit me up with a free braiding lesson, because I can't be paying people forever. So yeah, so that's what I would say.
There you go. Yeah, is there's more people that you would think that they can't do anything with their hair. And there's especially with all the different ways that you can actually style it. For you to actually pick up all those things, it might be a little bit difficult. Like you said, that's
Yeah.
why there's YouTube. So so
Yeah.
stick with that, or pay somebody to do it. That I think that's what you got to do.
Yeah, definitely.
There you go. Well, Rachel, that's all I have for you. So, thanks so much for sharing your experience. As a pre-med student. So, any last words, and then anything that you would want to share or plug for our audience to know a little bit more about you.
Last thing I'll say is just to really stay encouraged during this time. I know we're in a very confusing time. We're still in a pandemic, sort of, kind of, and no one knows what's going on, but including myself. But I think something that I've been trying to tell myself every day is just taking it one day at a time. You can't really plan the future. You can't plan what the next month's going to be, the next year is going to be. You can only take control of this moment and do the best you can. So follow that mantra, take it one day at a time, I'd say, and stay encouraged through that. And in terms of plugs, of course, you could stream my podcast, College for the Culture. It's on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, any other podcast streaming platform, and YouTube as well. And we also have an Instagram at College for the Culture. So follow there. I'm going to be posting a lot more content and an event that I've been scheming and scamming for a little while. So just stay tuned for that. And if you want to reach out to me about anything college related, hit me up at collegefortheculture@gmail.com. I would love to chat with you about that. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely check out our platform. A lot of great information there. We'll make sure to have all of that in the description. So, Rachel, again, thank you for coming on to the podcast. And thanks to everybody who's been watching and listening. Be sure to follow us at Inquire Higher. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Check out our website, inquirehigher.com. And you can find more information about our new online community where we link up Black students as well as professionals to make more meaningful connections and share resources. So definitely check it out. Reach out to us if you have any questions about that. So until next time, peace.